need to spit out my gum because that's gonna get really annoying. I'm already sweating too, so. I haven't even done anything yet. My heart is beating so fast right now. Hey guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you're here and welcome to my 2023 reading wrap up. I cannot believe that the year is already over. I said that so many times in all my videos during Bookmas and stuff like that too, but it's just so crazy to me that it is over. I'm also feeling really overstimulated right now, so we'll just have to wait and see how this video turns out. To start this off, I wanted to go through my Goodreads goals and stuff like that. There was also a wrap up that somebody did this year that made it kind of look like Spotify Wrapped, which I thought was really, really cool. Let's go ahead and start off with Goodreads. So my Goodreads challenge for 2023 was 60 books. It actually started, I think, at 30 books, and then I moved it up to 40. And then I moved it up to 52 and then to 60, and I ended up hitting that and surpassing that, which is super awesome. I ended up reading 62 books this year, which I am very proud of. Also, while we're talking about like reading goals and stuff like that, just know that it obviously doesn't matter how many books you read, and everybody's gonna read a different amount. Everybody has different reading goals, different amounts of times to read, and some people read a lot longer books, some people read shorter books, all of that kind of stuff. So it honestly just depends on your personal preferences. Basically what I'm just trying to say is that this is very personal, so take that as you will. But I read 62 books this year, which is 25,459 pages, which is actually insane. There's a few other things on there too, but I kind of talked about everything else that's on here in my end of year book tag, so if you want to see that information, go check that out. But on to like the little wrap up or like Spotify Wrapped version. So on this one it said I read 61 books. I read 62. I just read the other one before I got to this, and it says I have 42,461 minutes read, which is how many days? How do I do that? Do I read 24? No. Luke? Okay, so it looks like I read for 29 point something days, which is super cool. Also kind of weird. Like I've literally spent almost a month of my 2023 reading. That's insane. And my top genres were romance, which I read 50 books, contemporary 36 books, and young adult I read 26 books. And my top author was Sarah J Maas, which kind of makes sense. I started the Throne of Glass series and also finished the ACOTAR series, so I feel like I haven't really read that many books by a lot of other authors. My reading vibe is I'm a hopeless romantic. How cute is that? And then some of my 5-star reads, which you'll hear more about in this video. Now that that's done, one little quick warning before we get right on into it. I'm not gonna go like incredibly in depth for every single book, just because if I did that, we'd be here a very long time. So let's just go ahead and get into it, and we'll feel it out. You know, if I want to talk about a book more, I will. If I don't, I will. The first book I read in 2023 was The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, which is the first book in the Dreamland Billionaire series. I like this book. I thought it was cute. Not really my favorite. I wasn't super into reading at this point. It's basically just grumpy guys own Disney World and enter a romance plot. That's really it. Also, I do have it, and I would like actually show you the book. I'm gonna be showing most of them if I do have them, but my friend is borrowing it right now. But anyways, it is a 3.75. I really didn't think this through, did I? Okay. The next book I read was Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. This is the 5th book in the Harry Potter series. I ended up rating this 5 stars. It's so good. Obviously just a continuation of a 5-star series for me that I absolutely love. And this is my favorite. I love her so much. Also the longest book I read this year and the longest in the series. The next book I read was Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is also a 5-star read for me. I was kind of like cranking out the 5 stars during the beginning of the year, and truly I think that's what really got me into reading, because at this point I wasn't super into reading yet, like reading multiple books in a month yet. This one is basically just about a band in the 70s and their life, and you kind of get a glimpse into the rock star lifestyle. It's very interesting. Cute little subplots of romance in here too that I just absolutely loved, and they have a lot of main characters that like you know you shouldn't like because they're kind of troubled in a way, but you just like fall in love with them, and I absolutely love this book. It's also written kind of like a screenplay or a play in general, and it was just the most unique book that I've ever read. You couldn't see that, but anyways, I loved it. Continuing the Harry Potter series, I read the 6th Harry Potter, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I ended up rating this a 4.5. Again, continuation to a 5-star series for me. Then I ended up reading In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle. I don't really know what to say about this book. It was very short, so it was kind of like just easy to go through in general for me, but I feel like there was a lot more story to tell. It's basically about this girl who has everything planned out for her life, and then her life gets derailed because something happens to one of her friends, and it's a lot more character based than like plot based. And I find myself having to be in a very specific mood in order to like enjoy or even like want to read a book like this, and I didn't even know it was like that. So I did rate this a 2.5. Just wasn't really my favorite. I don't know. It was also kind of like really sad. Just not the vibe. Here we have another 5-star read, Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I absolutely adored this book. If you're wanting that feeling of what a pure and cutesy, fun first love feels like and just want to kind of go back into high school and have those moments, the nostalgia of it all, this is the book for you. 5 stars. I loved it. Next up, we have Beach Read by Emily Henry. Another 5 stars. What can I say? This book was everything. January and Gus are so cute together. It's basically about authors who knew each other from college, and they kind of have a bet going because they're both in a writing slump, and they end up switching genres, and then they go on little, not dates, but they end up doing activities together to kind of inspire each other to get into writing the other one's genre, if that makes any sense. And it was everything. I loved it. Augustus Waters can do no wrong. Did I say Augustus Waters? Isn't that for Fault in Our Stars? He's Augustus Everett. Katie. That was bad. I'm so sorry. Anyways, and then on Kindle Unlimited, I read Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. I ended up rating this a 3-star. Then I read Love on the Brain by Allie Hazelwood. I rated this a 4-star, just another cutesy STEMness romance. And it kind of has that same like enemies to lovers, grumpy sunshine thing going. Just very cute. And then I finally finished the Harry Potter series. I read Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, which is the 7th book and the final book in the series. I ended up rating this a 4.75, still going back and forth on whether this is a 5-star or not for me. I just personally think that the 5th one was so incredible, so it's just so hard to compare, but I also love this one so much too. Then I ended up reading The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. I rated this a 4-star. This is a friends to lovers, just very cutesy, like football-esque romance. This is my first ever sports romance. And let me just say, I absolutely fell in love with sports romances. If you're ever looking for something just super easy and bingeable and very cutesy rom-com-y vibes, there wasn't really any spice in here either. Sarah Adams is your girl. She writes some super cute books. And this is when I started to get into my fantasy era. I finally picked up A Court of Thorns and Roses, aka ACOTAR, aka the first book in the ACOTAR series, and I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. I rated this a 4.5. This is the beginning of Feyre's story and her journey. She changes so much throughout all the entire books, and it's basically a fantasy story that includes Fae and humans and war. That's really all you gotta know. And it's also more classified as romantasy than just like a high fantasy or anything like that, so highly recommend if you've never picked up fantasy, go pick this up. Then I picked up my first ever Lucy Score book. I ended up reading Things We Never Got Over. This is a TikTok super popular book, so I read it. It's a grumpy sunshine, very cutesy. I like her writing style a lot. This is the only book I've ever read by her, and I don't know why I'm dreading getting to the rest of the series. I have them right back there. They fell. I don't know if you can see them. I think it's just because they're so long, but it was so cute, and I remember really enjoying it. I don't know. I'll get back into it someday, but yeah, I don't know. It was just very cute. 4 stars. Then I read another Sarah Adams book. This one is When in Rome. It's basically about this pop star who needs a break from the pop star life, and she ends up going to this little small town, Rome, Kentucky. And these 2 books are kind of where I was really getting to these small town romances, because I thought that they were just so precious and wholesome and cute. Again, another solid 4 stars. Getting back into my fantasy era, I ended up reading Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This trilogy is everything to me. I'm sure I'll talk about it more as I get into the other books that I read by her this year. This book is more of a fairy tale than a fantasy, I would say, so again, another great book to dive into fantasy if you've never really gotten into it before. It's also an enemies to lovers, which I absolutely love, and you'll sense the theme whenever we get into the other fantasy books that I've read this year. I ended up rating this a 4.5. And then I read Carrie Soto's Back, another Taylor Jenkins Reid book, and I did enjoy this. It was basically a book about a tennis player named Carrie Soto, and she's not really loved a lot by the public. And it really talks a lot about women in the public and how they're treated and scrutinized and stuff like that. I found that very interesting. She has a very cutesy relationship with her dad, and there's also a little subplot of romance as well, and I really enjoyed it. Definitely more of a women's fiction book than like a romance book or anything like that, and I ended up rating it a 3.5 stars. Now we get into this lovely trilogy that I read this summer. It is the Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy, and I'll be honest, I did not like these. Did I watch the series though before I read these? Yes, and the series has so much more detail, so much more going on, which is kind of shocking because you would think the opposite, because that's how it is with almost like every other book to movie to series adaptation. But having so much more in the series and then not a lot in here, I just feel like the books lacked so much. The first one, The Summer I Turned Pretty, I ended up rating a 2.5 star. The second one, It's Not Summer Without You, I rated a 2.75, and the third one, We'll Always Have Summer, I rated a 3 star. This one had a very good redeeming ending that I enjoyed. Otherwise, it kind of would have been the same as the other books. I don't know. These just felt a little too YA for me, and maybe I would have enjoyed them more if I read them before I watched the series. Next up, we have Summer Reading by Jen McKinley. I ended up rating this a 4.25 stars. I really liked it. It was very cute. It's basically about a girl who comes back to her hometown for the summer. I believe she lives on like Nantucket or something like that, just like a very cool summery island. And her whole thing is that she loses her job and she's looking for something else to do. And yeah, it's basically about that. She ends up meeting this guy and they have a cute little time of the summer. That's basically it. It was very cute. Then I ended up reading I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I don't rate memoirs, especially this one, because this was so traumatic and just like crazy story to read that this was actually her real life and it was absolutely real. It's basically Jeanette McCurdy's like recollection of her being a childhood star and everything that her mom had to do with it and stuff like that, and it was insane. I highly recommend reading it if you haven't yet. Definitely one of my favorite memoirs that I've ever read, and I definitely want to read more memoirs in 2024. Then we have Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune, and all I have to say about this book is no, absolutely not. Least favorite trope. Why are we doing that? Why is it in here? You know, I mean, it had second chance romance, it had then and now, all that kind of stuff. Didn't like it. I also don't really stop. I don't really get their romance at all. Truly. Like, I don't know. 2.5. No. And then let's talk about a book that did hit. Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is such a beautiful book. If you are anyone ever, you should read this. If you've ever had friends, if you've ever had to grow up, if you've ever had to be or live. It's basically about a couple who breaks up and they have to fake date in front of their friends whenever they're on vacation because they don't tell them yet, and it's about how friendships change as you grow up because everybody is going through different stages at different times and growing and learning and all that kind of stuff at different times, and you're not who you once were in college or high school or whatever, and it's so good. Everybody can relate to this book. This is a literal masterpiece. Then I read Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. I rated this a 4 star, just kind of like a very fun, cutesy rom-com. Lynn Painter is your girl for that if you want something just very light and, I don't want to say thoughtless, but also like it is kind of thoughtless. Like it's literally just like fun to read. So if you want anything like that, this is for you. A solid 4 star. The next book I read was Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This is a 5 star for me. If you like dragons, if you like fantasy, if you like romantasy, this is for you. The main female character, Violet, is just everything. She's so strong, so determined, even though she has like a chronic illness. It's just so cool to see how when she wants something, how much she will do to like go and achieve it. I loved it. It was so cute. Fourth Wing, 5 star. Then I read Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I rated this a 4.75. This one was so cute. It was about Jack and Elsie and their academic rivals, and she's also fake dating his brother. So that's that. And then I read The Deal by Elle Kennedy. This was actually my first hockey romance that I ever read. Safe to say, I'm obsessed. I love a good hockey romance now. And I ate this up. 4.5 star. Like, hate to say it, but I did. It was so cute. Everything. Loved it. Next up, we have Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. This book, everybody and their mother seems to love and adore so much. I, on the other hand, did, but also didn't. I flew through this. It was absolutely adorable. Second chance romance, friends to lovers, childhood friends to lovers. It had everything that you would think I would need to absolutely adore and love a book, but the ending just really rubbed me the wrong way. It was kind of weird and just didn't need to be done that way, period. Like, in all honesty. So I rated this a 4.5. And we have another hockey romance, the like most iconic hockey romance ever, Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I love this book. This is where I truly fell in love with the found family trope. The found family in this book is literally like no other, and I will talk about that till the day I die. I love them so much. So much. This hockey team, everything to me. If you want something a little bit spicier, this is for you. I rated this a 4.75. This says everything and more, but also another more character driven book. Not really plot, more about the characters' lives. So just take that into account if you're wanting to read this. Then I read one of my favorite books of the year, which is The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber, the second book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. 5 star. 5 star every time, 5 star every day, 5 star till the day I die. I love this book so much. The ending is so tragic and heartbreaking, and all I have to say is there is nothing of equal value to me. Period. Then I read my first Ellen Hildebrand book, and safe to say it might be my last Ellen Hildebrand book. I just don't know if she's for me. I read The 5-Star Weekend by her, which I'm pretty sure was her most recent release at the time. I think for me, it's just like too much. Her books are in third person omniscient, and I literally got every point of view of everyone, like all the main characters in the story, but also of like the grocery store clerk and the waitress and the girl sitting over at that table. Don't know her name, but I got her point of view for like 2 sentences. It was just too much for me. I didn't like it. Super confusing. I thought that the plot was kind of interesting though. I powered through it and I ended up rating it a 2.5. It's just not for me. Then we have one of Ali Hazelwood's STEMness novellas. I read Stuck With You first, and I read this 2-star. It's just a little novella. It was okay. Is all I really have to say about that one. Then we got back into the ACOTAR series. I read the second one, A Court of Mist and Fury. This is a 5-star for me. This was such a good book. It talks more about the romance of the story in this one, in my opinion. And I actually ended up reading the third one next, which is A Court of Wings and Ruin. Again, like I said, this one's more romance, but I would say this one's more for like the plot girlies. A lot more of like the war and stuff like that happens in this one. I found this one to be my personal favorite. A lot of people like this one better. Like I still just have to like pick and choose, but I still love them both very much. They are both very, very good books, and I highly recommend the series if you haven't read it yet. And then I read Once More with Feeling by Alyssa Sussman. Can we just take a moment for her covers? So adorable. The book inside, not so much. Again, my least favorite trope. Why is it in here? And the main character is literally so incredibly insufferable, but the thing that sucked the most is I love her writing so much, so I like flew through this baby. Like I was eating up the writing, but the contents of the writing, no, not for me, even though it was literally a childhood friends and lovers then and now. There was a summer camp plotline. Like, how could I not like this? I rated it a 2.5, and I'm really hoping I like her next book because I loved the first one that she wrote last year. That I read anyways. I don't know if that was the first book that she ever wrote, but loved that one last year. Then I read The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, and I really enjoyed this. Obviously, whenever I was younger, the movies were coming out, and as I grew up, I got to watch them, which was like a super cool experience. I've never read them until now, but I did really enjoy the books, which isn't shocking because I like loved the movies. This was a 4.25 stars for me. Then I read my first Abby Jimenez book. I read Part of Your World, and this one was cute. It's an age gap, one night stand kind of romance. I don't know if one night stands are my thing. I don't know if I truly enjoyed that plot in this book. It was very cutesy and fun, but I don't know. I didn't really like this one as much. I'm really excited to read Yours Truly this next year because that's like the second one in this companion novel series. And I want to read her other books too because I know that so many people love her. This was not a good choice, Katie. Next up, we have Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This book was confusing. You get so many different point of views, and I think that's what had me really confused is once I was truly understanding one character's point of view and one character's side of the story, I had to jump into another character and I was like, I don't know what's going on. I rated this a 3.5 because of that. I'm really hoping that I like the second one a lot more. Then I read The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. She became one of my new favorite authors this year, even though I only read this one by her. So excited to read The 7-Year Slip and A Novel Love Story. That one comes out next year, but excited to read the rest of her books. I absolutely fell in love with this. It's basically about a girl named Florence Day, and she is a ghostwriter for like a super famous author, and then something changes in her life. She has a family tragedy that happens and she has to go back to her hometown. This book was just everything. So cute, fun. I love Benji as well. They're just everything. And I remember sobbing in my living room at like 3 a.m. because I had to finish this book. I ate it up. 4.75. And then I read The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. The best way to describe this series is that is a young adult Criminal Minds. That's literally all I have to say, and you get it. You know what I mean? It was a 4-star for me. Something else really exciting that happened this year is me and my friends started a book club, and I have loved reading books with Abby and Jordy. Oh my gosh. Hey guys, if you're watching, what's up? But I just love being part of a book club and like talking about books, and it's just so fun and I absolutely love it. Highly recommend starting a book club in 2024 if you're not a part of one already, or at least buddy reading with some of your friends. This is actually the first book that we read together, and it was Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. Another one of the books this year that took the book talk and just the book world in general by storm. This book is more of a historical romance fantasy, and when I think of romantasy just in general, I think of this book. This is the most romantic book I've read all year. I rated this 4.75 stars. Then we have The Modern Girl's Guide to Magic, which I have talked about already too much, I feel like. I did not like this book at all. I was looking for a cute, witchy, rom-com-y romance type of thing, and this was not it. I didn't like it. It was basically more about plant magic than anything else. And I rated it a 2-star. That's all I'm gonna say. Because I don't want to talk about it anymore. We're leaving it in 2023. Okay, and then after that, sadly enough, I read another 2-star book, which was Maybe Once, Maybe Twice by Alison Rose Greenberg. Again, least favorite trope. I loved the first half of this book, and then the least favorite trope showed up, and I was like, really, guys? guys? Like, can we just, let's just get away from that. Like, let's stop with the least favorite tropeness, you know? I don't know. I was just really disappointed because I was liking it a lot so far. And also I was annoyed because the plot point that you start the book off with, you end the book with, but it's like literally not talked about until the end of the book. And the ending was just really not what it should have been. So, 2 stars. Then we have my favorite book of the entire year, which is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I don't have it with me right now because one of my friends is borrowing it, because if anytime I have a book that I absolutely love and adore, I have to have my friends read it immediately so we can talk about it. It's actually the first book that I ever fully tabbed and annotated too, so it's just like very special to me. But I absolutely love this book. It is an enemies to lovers romantasy, and it is just everything. There wasn't really any spice in it, but there was so much tension you could literally cut it with a knife. And I find myself almost more or less enjoying the tension more sometimes than the spice, just because whenever you do eventually get there, like it just, like the tension just made it so much like better, you know? But yeah, Kai and Peyton are amazing. Peyton is such an amazing female main character. Again, so determined, so strong-willed. She can literally do anything. I love her. And Kai, just, I love him. The way he uses his words and everything about him is amazing. Love him so much. Love them. Love the book. 5 stars. Okay guys, I've prolonged it long enough. The hair is going up. I'm literally sweating. Then I finally finished off the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy with A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. This one actually came out this past year. I know a lot of people were very disappointed in this book, but I still loved it. I thought it was a cute ending. I don't think it was as good as The Ballad of Never After, just in my opinion. So I did rate it a 4.75, but I still enjoyed it. It had all of the fun fairy tale and mystery-ish elements that Stephanie Garber always has in her books. And I thought that it was a good ending for the 2 characters. I love Jax and I love Evangeline, so I love this book. Then it was time to finish up the ACOTAR series. I read the novella, A Court of Frost and Starlight. I rated this a 3-star. I'm not really a novella girly. There are a few that I read that I actually enjoyed last year, but this really wasn't one of them. It was okay. It was just kind of like giving our characters a moment like to have fun and to relax a little bit, because they literally went through so much in the first 3 books. So I guess I can appreciate it for what it is, just not really my personal favorite. And then we finally finished off with Agasiv, aka A Court of Silver Flames, the last book so far as of right now in the ACOTAR series. The first 3 books follow Feyre, like I said, but this novella follows kind of like everyone. You get a lot of different people's point of views. In this one, you get Nesta and Cassian's point of view, and I rated this a 4-star. I know a lot of people like this the most out of the entire series. It was okay. I do like Nesta and I do like Cassian. I just think that it was a little too long and it was kind of repetitive for me. I do get why it was repetitive and stuff like that. And then I read Catching Fire and Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. I rated both of these a 4.5. I really enjoyed them. I think that if I would have read them before I watched the movies, they would have been 5 stars, but I think it's just a different reading experience whenever you know like exactly what's going to happen. Okay, and then we read this one. Now, remember how I was saying I love Fourth Wing so much? This is the second book in that series. It's called Iron Flame. Beautiful book. So cool, right? What's inside? Again, not cool. Not beautiful. I've really been struggling with my rating on this book because I honestly just don't know. The first half I enjoyed. I thought it was pretty good. But the second half, like I literally feel like nothing happened until the very end. And even then, like... what even happened. Then I ended up reading Maybe in Another Life by Talia Jenkins Reid. I enjoyed this book. It was just a contemporary romance, just kind of like a little palate cleanser because I was reading a lot of fantasy at the time. And it was just overall a good book. You get like 2 different plots. Like it's kind of like a choose your own adventure, but you get 2 different plot lines of like what happens to her in her life, and then it kind of talks about fate and stuff like that. There's a very good message at the end. I rated it a 3-star, just kind of like cute. I don't know. I like the message. And then I read another STEMness novella by Ali Hazelwood. This one was Below Zero, which I actually enjoyed so much more than the first one that I read by her. And this is whenever I was kind of like, you know what, novellas? Maybe I kind of like them. So this one was cute. I rated it a 2.5. I feel like my rating scale for novellas might need to be a little bit different just in general. I feel like I can't rate them anything above a 3. I feel like that makes sense, but I don't really know. I rated it 2.5. Then I read She's Gone by David Bell. This book is a YA murder mystery type thing. And I was enjoying it at first because the chapters are so short, so I was just like cranking through it, you know what I mean? Like I was like going through it. And what sucks is I feel like a lot of books that I didn't really enjoy that much this year I read so quickly because of like the writing style or page count or how big the words are or whatever. This is another one of those times that it's just kind of upsetting to me that I don't like it because I don't know, the ending was just so, it was bad. Sorry, but it was bad. 2-star. Then we have The Last Semnos novella by Ali Hazelwood. I rated it a 3-star. I really like this one. It was very cute. This one was definitely my favorite, obviously, of the Semnos novellas that she has. I don't know. Highly recommend this one if you want to read any of them. And they actually all three connect, which I only realized at the end of this one after reading the final third one. I was like, oh my gosh, those names of those girls sound really familiar. That's crazy. Proud of myself that I actually noticed it at all, honestly. Okay, sorry if the angle and the lighting looks a little bit different. The sun is down now, and I also had to change my battery out because it was dying. So took a little break, had some Nerds Gummy clusters, and I'm back and ready to go. The next book I ended up reading was The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is why I ended up reading the Hunger Games books, like, kind of in the first place, which I should have read them anyways, even without this book, but I just wanted to read those first so I could have, like, the OG trilogy in my head, like, reading-wise, and then go into that one. You get what I'm trying to say. Anyways, didn't really enjoy this, sadly enough. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited to watch the movie. I rated this a 3-star. Then we have The American Women Experiment by Elena Armas. I absolutely love this book. Ended up, I don't know if I read it at like the perfect time or what, but it also had fake dating, which is one of my favorite tropes like ever. It was just so cute, and it was so, just so cute. I love Rosie in this book. She has such a good personality. She wants to be a writer, all that type of stuff. And then Lucas, which is the guy in this book, is so cute, and I love how it's dual POV. There was just so many cute and funny lines. I found myself giggling, kicking my feet. Everything you want in a romance book. 4.5. Then I read Holiday Romance by Catherine Walsh. I was looking for just a cute holiday romance book, and this was the first thing that popped up, probably because I typed in like Christmas romance or holiday romance, and I loved it. I loved it so much. Wasn't expecting to like it, but I just did. It's basically about the two main characters getting trapped in an airport and trying to find their way home to Ireland. It was so cute. Friends to lovers. I loved it. 4.5. Then I reread the first book in the Harry Potter series, which is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Just very nostalgic for me, especially around this time of year, because I read it last month in December, and I just thought it was very cute and fun, and I loved it just as much as I loved it the first time. 5-star. Then after that, I finally read the first book in the Throne of Glass series. I started with the prequel, which is The Assassin's Blade. There are 5 novellas in here. I really like this though. It's basically about a girl named Selena, and she's an assassin, and that's all I'm gonna say because I went into this super blind and I want you to have that same experience as I did. But it's just a really good fantasy story, and I like this so far. Super excited to get into the next one. And yeah, I rated it a 4-star. Just a solid start to a fantasy series. Then I read Betting on You by Lynn Painter. Guys, this was so stinking cute. Bailey and Charlie are so cute. There was fake dating in here. There was talk about a lot of real stuff too, which I think YA books sometimes don't do. They don't talk about a lot of real scenarios and situations happening, especially like in kids' lives because they are in high school. But this was just so well done. Both their parents are divorced, so they relate to each other on such a good level. It's a friends to lovers, co-workers romance too, and they were just so cute. 4.5, maybe even a 4.75. I don't really know. Could be going up. The next book I read was The Light We Lost by Jill Santopolo. This had my least favorite trope. And you wanna know what? I didn't hate it, I think. Still don't really know about my rating on this one, to be completely honest. This book kind of was an emotional roller coaster for me. I read it really fast though because the chapters were super short. I think I'm gonna rate this a 4-star, which is very high considering that it has my least favorite trope. But I don't know. I did enjoy it. I don't know. The ending was kind of weird though, but let's just stick with a 4-star for now because maybe 3.75. I don't know. I'm not making a decision on it. And then the last book, which is kind of funny because it is the second book in the little interconnected standalone series that I started at the very beginning of the year. It is the second book in the Dreamland Billionaire series, Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher, and I am so glad I picked this up. I was super nervous too just because I couldn't really remember a lot about the first one. It took me a while to read, kind of put me in a little bit of a slump. And again, I wasn't very far into my reading journey, so I think that if I would have read that later, it would have been a different experience. Never mind that, because I love this one. This one is about Declan and Iris. It's a forced proximity, marriage of convenience type thing, which I wouldn't have thought I would have enjoyed, but I loved it, and their relationship was so cute. And that is the last book I read of 2023. When I read more books next year, because I will be reading more books, I don't know how I'm supposed to film this video. Like, people who read more books than me and you film videos like this, claps to you, because this is so much work. Anyways, those are all the books that I read in 2023. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any thoughts on the books that I talked about in this video, or any books you want me to read, any videos you want me to film, go ahead and leave that down in the comments down below. Don't mind the wire right there. I don't really know how to cover it. Okay. And also comment your favorite book of the year so we can all talk about our favorite books of the year. I think that'd be fun. Don't forget to like, subscribe too if you guys want to keep updated with all the books that I'm reading and stuff like that in 2024. Follow me on Goodreads too if you want to have more in-depth and kind of like real-time reading updates as well. I do update that pretty frequently because I think it's literally so incredibly fun. And also follow me on TikTok and on Instagram if you guys want to just keep up with my daily life and stuff like that too. And I think that's it. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day and a great start to your year, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys, Happy New Year. Oh, not me feeling it getting up. What was that?
Sorry, I burped.
That was a burp? That was insane.
Sorry guys.
Okay. You're done.